So I'm joined by David Mullins for a review of last night's Sport Springbok, won by Droopy's Rex. A particularly exciting final. And David, looking back at the final, I saw you being quoted afterwards. I mean, it must have really sort of had your pulse racing, I would have thought.
I did. I mean, I knew before the race there was could have been any permutations between what was going to win it. Jimmy Reynolds had two dogs that were very fast starters, and if any one of them got loose and got too far ahead, it was going to be very difficult to pick any one of them up. And then of course you had Ricky Holloway's Mina Maverick, which is such a strong running dog. If that got loose behind anyone, to hold it off was going to be difficult as well. So, and the balance of the race was tough. But during the race, I mean, when our other fella, he had a nightmare draw, Woodcock's Aero, banged out. I thought, oh, you got a chance. And then, of course, there's a bit of trouble. Rex went round behind 45 Max, and when he turned behind him off the second bend, I thought, now this normally will drop in a hole coming home.
Yeah.
If you can hold your position, you've got a great chance. This is what's happening to me, going through my mind at the second bend. And all I was thinking going into third bend was, don't mess the third bend up. Just make sure you hold your position. And when he came out of it in front, all of a sudden I thought, you've won. And then in that exact moment, I saw the red jacket. And I just thought, oh my God, no. And just like, stay away, stay away. They weren't the words I was using, but and as they crossed the line, I must admit, when they crossed the line, I did think we'd won.
Yeah.
But I thought at the same time that I heard the commentator say the one had won, and that's what threw me. And I thought, oh, and then of course once the result came over,
Yeah.
everything was great, and it completed the set. So, we was, inside you just want to burst, and it was a great feeling.
Yeah. I mean, considering that, going back to sort of times previous tracks you've raced at haven't been particularly strong for hurdlers. Even at Romford, it's not exactly a hotbed. You have a good record with hurdlers over. I mean, was it the Potto Storm?
Yeah.
He's the first one I associate you with as a hurdler. Would that have been right? Obviously, apart from with your mum.
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to love the hurdlers at my mother's. We had some of the best hurdlers of all time. One in particular, Gizmo Pasha. But yeah, Potto Storm was, and I only put him over the hurdles because I wanted to win the national.
Mm.
And I can remember schooling him. The first time I put him in the boxes after giving him a few hands, he was a natural. He broke the track record round Ockenden, and I still wasn't going to put him in the Springbok because we'd left it too late.
Yeah.
And then he broke the track record the following week round there. So I thought, well, we've got to give him a go. And he got to the final, but he was a bit too novice at the time. There was, I mean, and in that day and age, there was some, serious dogs over the hurdles. There was a lot more to, to look to. It was difficult to get into the top 36, let alone to win it.
Yeah.
Where now you can pretty much, if you can get round, you'll get in it. There's just not that. There's not enough out there. So the more we can do and people can do to keep hurdle racing going. I mean, there's a lot of benefits with it as well because it gives the dogs an extra lease of life. It gives them another year's racing. It also, those type of dogs, it keeps them away, off the retirement list for a year and eases that burden.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I always look at it in this day and age. I've changed my philosophy on the way we bring hurdlers through, where we used to use the graded side of things.
Yeah.
I look at it that if you've got a dog who's Group 2 semi-finalist, Group 1 semi-finalist, minor open winner, not quite. You know, you'll win your races, but you're not going to win a competition. You know, you're not going to win it. If you give them a chance over them, and they can jump. There's a lot out there to win. There's a lot of prize money out there.
Mm.
You know, so
But
I
you can
looked.
gain two or three levels, can't you? If you
Yeah,
drop jumps.
yeah. I mean, I looked at. You know, I tried to persuade a couple of owners in the last couple of years, and it took me a bit of time to do it. You know, I said, look, they're not going over hurdles to race over hurdles for their career. You can prepare them for the Springbok,
Mm.
win, lose or draw, put them back on the flat, prepare them for the national, win, lose or draw, put them back on the flat, prepare them for the champion hurdle, and away you go.
Yeah,
You know, you don't have to continue racing them over there. You know, obviously it benefits if you can. You know, if they are good enough.
yeah,
You know, so that you know that's the way I looked at different things, and you try and pick out a couple of dogs, which is what we used to do years ago. You know, when my mother was training, she'd look at a hurdler.
yeah,
You know, there's this stigma that they're only
uh,
screws, you know,
yeah,
dodgy dogs that go over, but it's not really the case. I mean, she never used to look at those type of dogs. Obviously, if you had that type of dog, that was you know a good option.
yeah,
But she'd look at something a well balanced, you know, certain type of dog. They think, you know, put him over. You know, if he takes to it, he's the right caliber of dog.
yeah.
And I've already picked two out in the kennel that are running now.
Yes.
Um, to prepare for next year's Springbok. You know, it's a long way away, but we're already looking to see
Yeah.
what we've got that potentially will fit the bill.
So why? I mean, there's various questions I want to ask you. When I worked for Tommy Foster, Tommy's view was hurdlers are born, not made. Would you subscribe to that?
Oh yeah, you can't. You know, oh he's 100% right. You know, dog hurdlers they either take to it or they don't.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, I had one come in. You know, for this year's one to be schooled. You know, he'd need a parachute to come down.
yeah,
You know, he just couldn't jump.
yeah,
You know, so you can't make them. You know, obviously, the more times you put them over, the better they will get.
mm,
But a natural hurdler, you don't make. You know, that's the way they're designed.
yes. The other thing is, the times that tracks have tried and tried and tried to develop hurdle strengths. Um, is it down to the trainers that they don't succeed? Is it down to the trainers that you haven't got an H1, H2, and H3 at Romford?
Well, Romford always did used to have a pool of hurdler. They had a good strength at one time, but I suppose you know over time it's demised.
Mm.
Um, the tracks need to push for it more. You
Yeah,
know, they need to get the trainers to put dogs over. You know, insist that they carry a couple. But of
yeah,
course, when you're starting from scratch, to field a race of 6 dogs, you need a pool of about 20 dogs.
yeah,
You know, because to get 6 dogs of this equal caliber, it's
yeah,
just not going to happen. You know, so if
yeah,
you've got a pool of dogs, and once you get them started, um, you know, you can add to it.
yeah. I know.
But
I
it's
remember Bellevue though. Only a couple of years ago, I think they only had about eight hurdlers, but fortunately, they were all pretty much the same. And then you get one that would hit a bit of form and he'd win three in a row, and you go, well, that's it. Now he has to drop out, and they'd try and find another one. But they did it on a
yeah.
very, very small number. Um, but yeah, I can see that. I mean, and I take it then is it the stigma of putting dogs over hurdles that owners don't want to do it, or is it too much aggravation for the trainers to school them? What do you think is the biggest problem?
I think it's probably a combination of everything. You know, some trainers probably are a bit too lazy, you know, to put themselves out. I mean, we school our own.
Yeah,
We put ourselves out. We go to Bicester every Sunday, and I'll flick dogs over. You know, even dogs I have no real intention of putting over hurdles. You know, they're probably not doing it on the flat, so we just try and wake them up a little bit.
yeah,
But yeah, you've got to make the effort.
yeah,
You know, it's not going to come to you. I mean, there are kennels. You know, you could send them to Barry O'Sullivan. He does obviously he's a top man for schooling hurdlers.
mm.
You know, you can send them there. You know, it's not that difficult to do.
No,
You know,
No.
so I think, I think one, the tracks they've got to want it.
Yeah.
If the tracks, I can remember a time where we were trying to get hurdle racing up and running at Romford, and me and Martin Wiley, I think we schooled about 8 dogs each, couldn't get a
Yeah.
race on,
Yeah.
and we ended up having to get rid of them,
Yes.
and then they tried it again, and we both said, well, we're not going to do it until some of these others do it,
Yes. Yeah.
and once they show I think, at Romford, I know there's trainers there that but Bernie Doyle would definitely, go into he's big on hurdle racing. He's won big events in the past, if I don't see, it can be done,
Yeah.
and it should be done.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's an argument, and people again that they try and sort of blame the tracks or whatever. But I can remember back at Hove, it's got to be 20 years ago. They were running for something like 70 quid runner money all those years ago, and they still couldn't make it stick at Hove. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not that the tracks haven't tried.
No, but the tracks have got to want to, to to have the hurdle racing.
Yeah, I suppose you've got trials as well, haven't you? Trial sessions, having to stick the hurdles up, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the trouble is, I think one of the problems is, you got the welfare side where they think the dogs are going to injure themselves more or one thing or another. But if you look at a hurdler compared to a flat dog, their muscle formation, they're so much stronger. The shoulders are stronger.
Yeah.
And once you've got them hurdling and racing, the injury side of things, you don't pick up as many shoulder injuries,
Yeah.
because they are so strong.
Also, they're not travelling quite as quick, are they?
No.
In general, they're going to the bend a little bit slower, so you're looking at wrist injuries, less likelihood. The other thing that occurred to me was a lot of hurdle gets kind of a bad rap because trainers, incompetent trainers, were putting the wrong dogs over. They were turning up at a track. The dogs had clearly never even been over on a hurdle gallop. The dogs go to the first hurdle, jump the outside fence, and practically damage themselves or potentially damage themselves. And the tracks go, oh, we don't need any of this. We don't want to risk that. Well, really, that's down to the trainers.
Yeah. I mean, if you think you can just throw a dog over the hurdle and it's going to jump, then you're deluded. When we start ours off, and anyone who does it properly, we jump them freely on the lead, and until they're jumping with you freely, we won't even hand slip them.
No.
And then we'll, the first thing when I hand slip one, the first thing they've got to do is jump.
Yeah.
They're not running up to a hurdle and jumping. So the first thing they'll do is jump a hurdle, and then they'll run to the next one.
Yeah.
And go around that. I mean, everyone's, they've got their different ways of doing it. That's the way we do it. But it's like, going for this Springbok, because we haven't got the facility of graded hurdle racing. Where the one thing you do want to do is run against experienced dogs.
Yeah.
Because you're starting from scratch. It's the same as running a pup. You want to run against experienced dogs rather than run against a field of pups, because they're all over the place. So we took the decision to enter him in the county hurdle, where he was up against experienced hurdlers rather than novices.
Yeah.
And it benefited him. He finished second in both his races, but he never got any trouble.
Yeah.
And then, of course, after that, he's had a couple of races. He looked reasonably good. So he benefited running against novices then.
Yes. Yes, of course. Yeah. If I said to you, I mean, for a start, was he straight on the flat?
He was at Nottingham. He did have a quirk. There's no doubt about it. When he came down to us and we ran him on the flat originally, he didn't do nothing wrong for me. In actual fact, the first time I ever saw him do anything wrong was in his first mixed trial over hurdles.
Yeah.
And that's because he had a 2-dog trial, and it was so competitive. The dogs were so evenly matched, probably too evenly matched. they couldn't get away from each other. And just after the line, he did turn his head on the dog and, as if to say, get out of the way, I've had enough of you.
Yeah.
And then, away that. But, I've never really seen him do anything wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say he was genuine because, I don't believe for one moment he was.
No. I mean, what would he be, Romford? 24-30 dog? What kind of?
Yeah, he's definitely a 24-30, 24-40. See, I've always said some of the owners probably don't agree with me. He's not the fastest dog in there. If you went on flat speed, he's not the fastest dog.
Yeah.
What he lacks on flat speed between the hurdles, he makes up for his hurdling technique.
Yes.
He takes lengths out of dogs just for purely being a good hurdler.
Yeah.
And you'll find that whether you're a hurdler in the Olympics or over the hurdles with horses.
Yes.
Some of them horses are, between the hurdles, they're fast as you like,
Yeah.
but they leave too much in the air or they go through too heavy.
Yes. Yes,
He gets it just right.
Before I leave discussion about Rex, I think we need to mention the owners. Obviously, you have to have the support of the owners to even put the dogs over the jumps. Obviously, given COVID and everything else, was difficult for everyone to get involved. But I had Jim Parker bending my ear a little while ago about not giving enough coverage to the Springbok, which was difficult because we were restricted even on the videos we could use. But how many owners are there associated with Droopy's Rex?
Well, I believe there's 12. I think originally there was 52 when he was on the flat. And obviously a lot dropped away. I mean, I have nothing to do with that side of things.
Yeah.
I deal with Jim. Jim deals with his syndicate. There's one or two others. There are owners that are within the kennel.
Yeah.
But he deals with those. I mean, and then he sort of shields them for me, really. So, I mean, but originally they are great supporters of our kennel.
Yes.
I don't always agree we don't always agree with each other's outlook, what we want from the dogs, and where they want to go and what we want to do. But we thrash it out, and usually they agree that I'm right in the first place.
Now you sound like your mother.
No, but they are really good supporters, and and to be honest with you, when I suggested putting certain dogs of theirs originally over, like Pyman's Bullet, and it took me a year. We was a year behind what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And had we done it the year earlier, when they were a bit younger, I think they would have probably had a bit more success. They had good success anyway.
Yes,
but
of course. Yeah.
Sometimes I can understand. They say things differently, but once I've explained it to them which way we want to go, why, and you plant the seed, they've never really said no, we're not doing that. We don't want you to do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer for them to say yes, but they really are good supporters of our kennel.
Yeah, I suggest then the final message is if it can possibly be done and Romford management can be encouraged, it could only embrace or improve the Romford grading strength, which is quite varied anyway. You have 575s, 750s, 400 sprints, a few hurdles in there wouldn't do any harm, would it?
I think at some point it will happen at Romford.
Yeah.
I do believe Mark, the racing manager, is, I don't think he's against hurdlers at all. I mean, they've got a problem with the track in the level it is at the moment to get the hurdles back in. Hopefully they'll sort that out. And I think, if they push for hurdle racing, it will benefit the track. The public like it, on the terraces, they find it a great spectacle. A lot of the owners like it. The trainers definitely like it. So, if it's done properly, then I don't see any issues.
Just needs a little bit of perseverance, doesn't it? So, for example, if you knew that every Friday night there would be a hurdle open on, and it means that if you get a little bit too good for the graded races, then at least you know that 2 or 3 of the H1 dogs plus a couple of outside dogs will be in the hurdle open. It just needs that little bit of drive and not giving up if you go a couple of weeks and you're struggling to get the fifth or sixth dog, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think once they do get it up and running, you've only got to add to it. And the
Yeah,
more you add to it, the more races you'll be able to put on. And once you've got your pool of dogs, you add to them, you've got continuity going then.
yeah. Finally, just on the subject of hurdlers, I don't know whether you'd agree, but I always found that hurdlers, I sort of, you did an analogy. They're a little bit like the drummer in the band. They're always the slightly weird one, or a goalkeeper in a football team. If you're looking for the slightly strange one, it's going to be the hurdler. Have you got that with yours, or are these sensible boys?
No. I mean, actually, you're probably 100% right, because when you do have a hurdler, you find their character. They are different to like a flat dog. They
Yeah,
have got a certain way about them. Yeah, they can be right out there. Yeah, I see. Like you say, like a goalkeeper, not a great footballer, but they do their job and they do
slightly
it well.
unhinged, aren't they normally?
Yeah, yeah. And then some become better than others. One of the biggest things that pleased us was
Yeah,
with the injury he got in the trial state,
yeah,
everybody in our kennel, staff-wise,
yeah,
played a part in bringing him back.
yes,
You know, they were on hand to whether it was long, hard walks, icing his Achilles, treating him. Every one of them played their part.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
So it was a main tendon then. It wasn't one
It
of
was
the.
his Achilles tendon. He tore
Yeah,
it in two places.
yeah,
You know, and our physio said, "You'll be lucky to get this dog back for the competition." And I thought, so you know, we went to town and we was icing it 3 times a day,
yeah,
and it's worked for us.
yes.
We got lucky, but there was a lot of effort that went into it.
Well, I'm sure the owners would have given them all a good drink.
I'm sure they will.
keep me up to speed on that, won't you?
Yeah. No problem. I'll make
David,
sure.
look after yourself. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.